things. Uh, Francis Macron said today that he will be talking to Vladimir Putin on Friday. Is that helpful? Does that undercut the U.S. Lavrov talks or any talks at a higher level, where mixed messages could be conveyed? Germany, to my knowledge, based on what German officials are saying, have not yet authorized the Estonian transfer of artillery. Is the delay in making that decision tantamount to banning by not getting it there potentially?
Tantamount to?
Is that tantamount to not approving it because of the delay? Mm-hmm. And the Ukrainians, are saying, Zelensky said to his people, nothing is imminent, you can sleep, don't pack your bags, don't worry. How does that, how do you synchronize that with the warnings from the White House that an invasion could be imminent, could come at any time? Is there a disconnect between us and the Ukrainian government in terms of our approach? There are reports, in fact, from the ground that Ukrainians feel left out of the diplomacy, despite all of your, the Secretary's visit last week and all of your arguments that nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
Let me try and take those in order. First, on the French proposal to engage in dialogue and diplomacy with the Russian Federation. I would remind everyone precisely what we heard from NATO, from the OSCE, from our European allies. Their very positive, very warm reaction to the fact that the United States, in full consultation with NATO, with the OSCE, with our European allies, with the Ukrainians, as of a couple weeks ago, plan to sit down in the context of the strategic stability dialogue, the engagement that our Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, led in Geneva. They have been very supportive of our bilateral engagements with now more recently Foreign Minister Lavrov, and they've been supportive for, I would say, primarily one reason. And that one reason is the fact that we have done all of this in full coordination, in full consultation with them.
But that said, just to that point, just this week, Macron said that the EU should have its own conversations with Russia.
And just as our partners and allies have welcomed our coordinated, consultative engagements with the Russian Federation, we would certainly welcome dialogue and diplomacy that could serve to de-escalate, in which the Russian Federation engages in good faith. We would be behind anything that would serve to de-escalate tensions in a genuine way. That is precisely why we have engaged multilaterally and also bilaterally, again in full consultation and coordination with our partners and allies, with the Russian Federation. There are two paths. You've heard us say this before. There's the path of diplomacy and dialogue. There's the path of defense and deterrence. We are pursuing both paths simultaneously, knowing that we have to be ready for either decision that Vladimir Putin makes. And we know the fact that our allies and partners are engaged in diplomacy and dialogue, to us that's a good thing. But it is incumbent in all of this on the Russian Federation to take steps to demonstrate that dialogue and diplomacy are viable, that they are a means to an end. This is not talking for the sake of talking. This is talking, sitting down in a principled, clear-eyed way in an effort to de-escalate tensions and peacefully resolve what the Russian Federation has needlessly provoked. We're engaged in that. Our allies and partners are engaged in that. We're engaged in that together, multilaterally, through NATO and the OSCE. When it comes to our German allies, we talked a bit about this yesterday. We were in Berlin last week, and the Secretary had an opportunity to speak to Chancellor Scholz, had an opportunity to meet with Foreign Minister Baerbock. The Foreign Minister was asked almost precisely this very question, standing next to Secretary Blinken, and she spoke in detailed terms about the important forms of support that our German allies are showing to our Ukrainian partners. And I say our because they are close partners of both the United States and Germany, not to mention all of the NATO allies. So different allies are contributing different elements to this effort to reassure, to reinforce, to deter further Russian aggression. The key is that all of these forms of support are reinforcing. So whether it is the fact that the United States, for our part, has provided more than $650 million in security assistance in the last year, the more than in any previous year in history, whether it is the fact that Secretary Blinken himself has expedited and authorized the third country transfers that you have spoken to, whether it is the reinforcements that my colleague at the Pentagon has spoken to in recent days. We are making important contributions not only to the defensive security needs of Ukraine, but also to the reassurance efforts when it comes to NATO's so-called eastern flank. Our allies are very much doing the same. Different allies are contributing in different ways in a way that is mutually reinforcing. And then finally, your question about what we're hearing from our Ukrainian partners. Look, I would make the point that now is not the time for panic. Now is the time for preparation. That is precisely what we're doing. We have been clear about our concerns. We have been clear about the depth of those concerns. You all know why. You all know our reasoning. That reasoning is clear, given what we're seeing on Ukraine's borders, what we're seeing in what should be an independent sovereign country of Belarus, with the Russian military buildup there, what we're seeing with preparations for potential hybrid operations. All of this is cause for concern, but certainly no one is calling for panic.
But just to follow up, because precisely I didn't get an answer on Germany. Different countries participate in different ways. Is it helpful if Germany prevents Estonia from helping to arm Ukraine? Or does it undermine the unity of the alliance?
The alliance is united. There is no question about this. The alliance is united. You have heard this in the form of communiques and statements from the alliance itself. You don't have to. You don't have to take my word for
but
it.
Why would Germany stop artillery from going to Ukraine?
Countries
from a third country.
Countries have different authorities, different norms, different traditions. This country, what I can speak to, is what we're doing. And what we are doing is providing unprecedented levels of defensive security assistance to our Ukrainian partners in a way that we've done in the past, just on a scale that is unprecedented.
Did the U.S. object to them imposing this ban? If they do, has the U.S. asked them to not interfere?
We have had in-depth conversations with all of our NATO allies about the deterrent measures that we are prepared to take, about the response, the swift, severe, united response that we are prepared to take. Our NATO allies know precisely what we are doing. Many of the steps that you've just heard me detail in terms of our provision of defensive security assistance to Ukraine, in terms of the reinforcements that we are making and prepared to make to NATO's eastern flank. Different NATO allies are contributing in different and meaningful ways. Francesca.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Andre's question on Macron's engagement, you're saying that everything you've done was made in coordination with your partners and allies. Would you say that Macron talking with Putin is done in coordination with the U.S.?
Look, the level of coordination between our French allies and the United States has been excellent. I think our French allies would say the same. As you know, there, even in recent hours, have been very high-level discussions. So these conversations, these consultations have been constant and consistent. So we feel that we have a good sense of what the alliance, what our allies are doing, and we know that we've been fully transparent with our allies and partners.
So just coordination and communication was better than it was over AUKUS?
Was that a question, or was that a jibe?
Just a